Jeffrey Epstein was that it came into enormous wealth by very mysterious circumstances and had connections.
It was the Mossad. It was the Mossad, like Nick was saying earlier. It's the Mossad. He's a Jew. He's Israeli. It was the Mossad, obviously.
Across the globe to very, very powerful people. And he was murdered right before it was all about to blow up. And now there supposedly are no files that the American people can see to explain all of that.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
When he says, I don't know why anyone would care. Why would anybody care? Like, it's so obvious. It's like he's not even being subtle. He's being so transparent that he's got some involvement or whatever. Probably, okay, so there's a few theories. Number one, he just straight up is like in the files a lot. Or number two, he's in the files in a way that maybe while it doesn't fully make him, like, doesn't definitively prove that he's a predator, it would still be like optically bad to see how close he was with Epstein or anything like that. And so he's just trying to, like obfuscate, move away, and like hope that people just forget about it. Or perhaps somebody said to me that they think that what's actually going on is he was going to the Epstein Island and he was having gay sex. Like he was gay or something. Or like there's something in the files that proves that he's actually gay. And that's why he's not interested in releasing the files, because even though it would fully exonerate him from being and even though trying to obfuscate like this only makes things worse for him, he would rather go through all that than for everyone to know that he's gay. Which actually, I mean, maybe that's the right decision, because if people knew that he was gay, I don't know how the American people could handle that. I feel like there is still a lot of homophobia in the world, and if he can kind of walk the line of not directly confirmed to be a, maybe that is the optimal choice for him. Which is unfortunate, but
I mean, it's crazy. Like, do I think that there's an actual list? No, I don't think that there's an actual list. I don't think that he was that stupid. But do I think that what they do have implicates him? Yeah, I think so. I mean, Epstein introduced Melania to Trump. The connections are like so wide and deep.
Really? Wait, is that actually
true? Why do we think they don't want the files released? I don't know. I think John, that thing that John Holland says is like a long time ago. I think is the most accurate kind of assessment of them, which is everything is projection or confession, everything. So when he puts out that tweet and he says Epstein now is the Russia hoax or the Hunter Biden laptop,
the laptop from hell, which the Democrats swore came from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom.
Like, I wonder if it works. Do you know what I mean? When he says to his followers,
the laptop from hell. Well, who calls it the laptop from hell? Is that like the laptop from hell? I don't know what that means. The laptop from hell. I don't know why they call it that. Just because it's really bad, I guess. I don't know.
Supporter of mine if you keep talking about Epstein.
Yeah. What do you think was in the files?
Not that bad.
I don't know, man.
He was hookers, okay. He was banging rocks. He was doing coke. He was doing meth or crack or whatever he was doing. I don't even know what he was doing. I think he was doing crack, right? Regardless, it was cool. He's cool, all right. He was having sex with a bunch of women, all right. Yeah, he didn't pay his taxes. He was a little late on paying his taxes, okay. But there was nothing in there that was like horrible. There was nothing in there that was like certainly not from hell. Like I don't even understand that at all. Maybe that's just like a name they gave it under the assumption that like people wouldn't look into it and just be like, oh, it must be really bad, right?
There's a great clip from Daily Show,
yeah, and
he does this whole thing on Occam's razor. He's like, let's step back for a moment and review the facts, and he goes through all of the associations that he has with Epstein. Not just the pictures, but the Epstein himself. Saying that Trump was his best friend for 10 years.
Yeah, that's so bad.
It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
And
that quote is crazy. Like, I don't even know why he would say that. It's so weird. I don't know why he would say that. Like, he honestly did such a bad job of keeping it a secret. I don't know if it was just like back in the 90s or whatever, like they just thought that it would never be an issue ever throughout the history of all time, and so they just weren't concerned about keeping it quiet. They're like, but now, like, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. I really don't understand. I don't know why it was so flagrant and obvious. And even like the note that he wrote for his birthday, and how like weird, how hard it like insinuated like, oh, we both have a deep secret. We can't say what the secret is. It's almost as if he's a pedo. Yeah, I know, right? It's almost as if. Starting to seem that way. Oh no, the jury's still out on that one. No, but it's just like insane. He's just so unsubtle about it.
And then he goes through all of the connections, and not even all of them, but for like 3 minutes. I just don't know how he's going to turn this one.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats.
We need to release the Epstein list. That is an important
Also,
thing.
it doesn't make sense for it to have been perpetrated by the Democrats, because for the longest time, it was like this thing. Like, I remember all the time seeing on Twitter, people would be like, "Oh, the Democrats, like, once these files get released, a bunch of Democrats are gonna go away. A bunch of all these Democrats." It was always about like, "Oh, Democrats are in there. Democrats are in there." No one was ever talking about how the Republicans were in there, and Democrats were never the one messaging on it either. It was always the conservatives that were talking about the Epstein files. It's so interesting how they actually, like, not only are they lying about it, but like that they're convinced that that's like a convincing lie, like where they could say, yeah, the Democrats came up with it. It's like that's not even like, you have to be so disconnected from reality to even buy that. It's crazy.
I think we talked about it before, is that central to their tactics is this elimination rhetoric. What they do is they accuse a group of people of the most heinous thing that you could possibly accuse them with, which is, and if you can get just 10% of the people to believe that someone is capable of such a heinous crime or involved with such a heinous crime, then you can get them to believe anything about them.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they used it to great effect. They've convinced an entire segment of that cult into believing that, you know, there is a cabal of elites, largely, you know, Democrats, that are involved in international global sex.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. It was always the Democrats. They were always talking about the Democrats being involved. It was always, yeah, it was like John Podesta and Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. They probably were all on Epstein's flight logs. And you never heard it about conservatives because Democrats weren't deranged enough to always like weaponize that. You know, people are always like, well, why do the Democrats care so much about it now? They never cared about it before. And it's like, well, the problem is that it's not that we didn't care. Like, I'm sure we were reasonably invested, but the problem is that the reason that we're holding you to the fire now is because you used it as a weapon. You wielded these, you know, elusive flight logs as like the thing that was going to kill the Democratic Party. And now that Donald Trump all of a sudden doesn't want to talk about it anymore, all of a sudden it's like, well, what? Well, oh, no, you seem really invested in it. It's like so like obtuse, and it's like so obvious like why people would all of a sudden be very interested in hearing what it has to say now, after it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was like your smoking gun. I thought you were going to put us away. What's going on? You're telling me there's nothing in there at all? Like, come on, like let's see what you got, right? It's just ridiculous.
Trafficking ring of children, in that Epstein was at the center of it.
The people who are pulling the strings is the Italian Vatican. They actually are reptilian bloodlines from another planet. They're basically robots. And the evil people that are there, such as the Rothschilds, who suck blood out of children to get adrenochrome and stay young. And
dude, this is more disgusting than like putting your child in a dress and like letting them like be trans or whatever. Like, you talk about like grooming your kid. Like, dude, this is... Even though you talk to your kid about adrenochrome and the Rockefellers and how like this is like insane. I am still in Texas. Yes, I am. And I've been doing well. I hope you're doing well too, buddy. Thank you. This kid knows what's up. True.
Beautiful forever. They pick them up and they take them to a submarine and go underground until they can get to...
Look at these disgusting freaks here too.
They pick
This
them up
poor
and
kid.
They take them to a...
Look at these weird, disgusting freaks. Like, their poor
submarine
kid. Holy
and go
fuck.
underground until they can get to Epstein Island, which is where they molest children.
Well, like, a kid should not be thinking about that. It's crazy. Like, yeah, I agree that a kid should not be thinking about, like, when you're like 6 or 7, you should not be thinking about if you're gay or sex or any. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Kids shouldn't be thinking about this either. They shouldn't be thinking about like how the government is raping kids and drinking their adrenochrome and like it. This is insane. This is insane. These poor kids.
And I think what they got is, you know, through the investigation, you know, a lot of information that would lead people to maybe in a more full way understand the exact nature of the relationship that Trump had with Epstein, which, you know, in their own words, revolved around, you know, women. For them to kind of wake up one day and say, you know, nothing to look at here, it just seems to me, I don't know how they move beyond this with their base.
Yeah.
But
I also don't understand Well, I guess it's funny actually. It should have been quite apparent because I feel like conservatives were always talking about the Epstein files, but genuinely, like Trump, I wish I could say Trump was such a idiot for always parading the Epstein files around. But the reality is, I don't think he actually really did that. He did say, like, when he was asked, like, yeah, I think I'd release the Epstein file, but even then he was like super, super hesitant. Yeah, it's like, it actually is like pretty obvious now that it's like, why would he never talk about it? He talks about everything else. He talks about Crook and Hillary and the laptop from hell. He talks about, like all this, like all this stuff. And it's like, you don't want to use that slam dunk of the Epstein files. Why is that? And it's like so obvious.
But who knows?
He's dead. He's gone. And
How did you feel when you first saw them saying, like, nothing to worry about here? Epstein list is kind of just like a Democrat hoax. Stop talking about it.
all it is the Republicans, certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook.
You either laugh or you cry. You know what I mean? And I mean, by the way, he's the only one who's saying that. I mean, the only one. Interestingly, usually what ends up happening is he'll say this stuff, and then it's like a megaphone, and then it just spreads like wildfire, and everybody picks up the talking point, and then that becomes the standard line on Fox News, New York Post, and even to a much lesser extent, the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. Is they just all go and they parrot exactly what he said.
Yeah.
This is the first time I think that I can remember that's not happening. Like, I think that they thought that they were going to get around the corner of this when Charlie Kirk kind of said, like, okay, I'm done talking about this.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the
What a
administration.
slimy, God, what a disgusting.
No, he obviously heard from his listeners, and like within, I don't know, it seems like 14 hours, he was back on the air saying, no, I'm going to talk about this.
Yeah. I think I could be an explainer here because I think everyone's talking past each other a little bit. We do not care about this story as a way to hurt Donald Trump. In fact, it's the opposite. We love President Trump. We love what he's doing. We actually care about
Look
this.
at that. Oh my God, this is it. Do you think this loser? Oh my God, Trump here. We got the 47 hat here. God, this is so gross, dude. This is so, it's disgusting. You're a grown man. You're a grown man worshiping another man. You're so gross. You're so gay. It's so gay. Ew.
Story. This is a rare opportunity of a sloppy operation by the deep state.
So it seems like part of Trump's diversion tactic is bringing the stuff about you back to the forefront.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. Is like, and what does he say? Hunter Biden's laptop. Like, we talked about this ad nauseum. I don't get it, I mean, I do get it. I fully understand what he's doing. And it's like clockwork when he gets in an uncomfortable position. And the question is how far does he take it? Like, it began with like saying that he was going to revoke Rosie O'Donnell's, citizenship. See how many hours we can get people talking about that
dude.
rather than talking about this.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't that, then it's, it moves on to something else. And I was...
The Russia hoax, which actually, I already knew a decent amount about the Russia hoax. And I am working on... I plan on doing, I've mentioned it before, I do plan on doing on the FXK regular channel, doing like more like prepared content and stuff. And I am working on the research for like a full comprehensive like debunking of the Russia hoax. Because the problem is that the Russia hoax is not, it's not a hoax at all. It's a thing that actually happened. There was Russian collusion with Roger Stone and with senior Trump executives and ostensibly Trump, through a few, maybe he wasn't talking to WikiLeaks or, the Russian hackers directly, but this all happened. And Trump was certainly aware of it, that there were Russian hackers that were planning on leaking the Democratic National Committee's email server. And they were totally cool with it, and they were listening to it. They didn't say anything. They didn't report it. They were communicating about it. They knew it was going to happen. And guess what? Roger Stone was indicted. He was charged, but guess what? He got pardoned by Donald Trump, so it didn't even matter. But yeah, I do plan on actually making a video about that. But he is the thing that I talk about in the opening of the script is that like basically this all stems from the Epstein stuff. Once Trump realized that he couldn't just make it go away, he had to like find other ways to distract people. One of those ways was the Russia hoax. It's so gross, but it is a really interesting story. And I actually have a appointment with a psychiatrist to get my ADHD meds for the first time in like a year, because I haven't had them in like a year. So I'm gonna take my ADHD meds. I'm just gonna lock in. I'm gonna finish it up, and it's gonna be a good video. So yeah, look forward to that.
Favorite go-to conspiracy.
Charlie's a master debater.
President Trump saying Hunter Biden has had Secret Service protection for an extended period of time, all paid for by the United States taxpayer.
It just must be kind of a crazy, like, full circle moment for you, because for so many years, he's like, the laptop's got the secrets. And like the Epstein kind of thing that he was like, one day I'm going to drop it and you guys are going to see, man, I was right.
But the bottom line is the records are getting out.
And now like we're on the other end of it and he's like, there's no list and you guys should look more into Hunter again.
Yeah, exactly. Take a look at that. Take a look at that laptop, you know, as if everybody hasn't looked at the laptop. Anyway.
So what can you tell us about the art you got going on here?
Well, I continuously paint. You know,
also, by the way, from what I understand, like there's a lot of claims about like illegal business dealings with like Ukraine and the only thing that was remotely proven was, I think, like he just like didn't pay his taxes, which is bad. But like, is this like seriously what we're gonna talk about? Like, I'm sorry, is there a guy that had a bunch of charges relating to like, you know, the tax fraud and stuff like that? Is there a guy? Oh, was it Donald? Oh, was it Donald Trump? Was it Donald Trump with the 34 felony counts? And you're worried about Hunter Biden being a little late to paying his taxes. Apparently, he paid them all off. So,
yeah. Back here, it's been a little bit more disjointed, but
oh, and apparently also was I guess they got him on like when you buy a gun, you sign a piece of paper that says I'm not on drugs right now. And I guess since he kind of lied because he was like doing drugs, he was like smoking weed and smoking crack. They were like, "Oh, you lied on this document, so now we're gonna get." So they got him on that too. Like they threw the book. They were looking for anything. By the way, none of like the original claims where they're saying like, "Oh, the Biden crime family is colluding with like these foreign entities. They're colluding with Ukraine and they're getting these business deals done." And yeah, Hunter Biden's behind it all, and they're like obviously using like the prostitution and all the drug stuff to make him look worse. But yeah, it was just nothing central to the actual claims originally. It's like, it's really up.
I guess the better question is, how would you describe your style for somebody unfamiliar with your work?
You know, I think one of the things is I am a maximalist in a lot of ways. My paintings kind of start out simple, and then I just sometimes can't stop. But I usually have an idea in my head of a concept of what I'm going to do, and then I just let the process take me to wherever it goes, which is kind of cool because every accident turns into kind of a cool opportunity.
What's the symbolism behind this one right here?
I don't know. Do you see the figures in that?
I'm seeing a bird, and it looks like there's a Mesoamerican flair to it, but I'm also seeing the all-seeing iris. So there could be kind of a Saharan Mayan fusion.
Yeah.
But that's just me trying to say stuff.
I love it.
That I don't necessarily understand.
I love it, and that's the coolest part I think about painting.
He's so cute.
I started it with a kind of an intent of what it meant to me, but the cool part is if somebody else comes in and has a completely different interpretation of it, and you realize that I think that's kind of the coolest part about making art is that once you release it to the world, I think you're the first person outside family that's seen that one.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. There's a mother and there's a father, and it's almost, I think more than anything, now that I've finished it, it kind of comes from kind of the stained glass imagery I grew up with in my Catholic church in St. Joe's in Delaware. But clearly, you see a bird, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him, dude.
Over here?
I want him to be the president. I want him to be the president, dude. He'll save us. You know why? Because he was doing drugs. He was prostitutes. All right, and that's cool. Okay, and he is a nice guy, and he talks. That's what we need, okay? We need him. Imagine him. Look, this is all I'm saying. Imagine him on stage, 2028 primary against JD Vance. He's going to make him look like a dude. Oh, my God. He would punk JD Vance so hard. I would love it. I need to see it.
I don't know.
No, in the corner.
In the far corner?
Yeah, the African gentleman.
Oh, over here. Yeah. Oh, you know who that is? I forget his name. It's Saint.
The African
I can't remember what his name is. Saint.
The leader of the Haitian Revolution.
No, it wasn't the leader. No, it wasn't him. It was not him. But no, I forget his name. But I did this whole series of saints just because I love their stories. So there's this one saint. She's the first African woman to be sainted by the church, and she was kidnapped into slavery in Sudan when she was very young. And she got freed by this group of nuns when she was in her teens. Her most famous quote is about how if she were to meet the people who enslaved her, she would kneel at their feet and kiss their hands because of what they ultimately gave to her, which was the life that she had now. And that's a dramatic expression of the feeling that I was talking about with you before, which is that although it has been kind of a cruel 4 years in many ways, I'm like eternally grateful for right where I am right now. As much as these people have kind of been the ultimate expression of evil, at least in my lifetime, is that it kind of fills me with an enormous sense of purpose, not just in my art, but what I'm doing. I just think that there's such an opportunity to be of service right now, and not in a, some kind of melodramatic, way, but a lot of people that are, getting the shit beat out of them out there, right here in LA, and there's an enormous opportunity for just normal people to do kind of heroic things, whether it's protecting somebody that's about to get kidnapped off a street, if you witness it, to I'm working with a group now called BASTA, the homeless prevention, and just started actually as a director of development for BASTA, which is the leading homeless prevention and tenants rights group in southern Los Angeles.
Like you protect people from like eminent domain style evictions?
Well, from eviction, and we're the only group in at least Southern California that represents undocumented, and so we don't take any federal money. And by the way, it's not just El Salvadorian immigrants, it's Ukrainian immigrants that came here under duress from what's going on in Ukraine and find it really hard to find work because of the fear of employers that they're going to disrupt their business because of ICE raids and things like that. And then they lose their income. And almost all of these people are families and children. And if you can keep someone in their apartment or their home, you obviously also keeping somebody off the street in homelessness. And what you find is like when a child becomes homeless, like the road back to any chance of normalcy just becomes exponentially harder, harder and harder.
One connection I wanted to make that I feel like I didn't mention in our last interview is we talked about the prison in El Salvador.
If you think that the prison in El Salvador is not a concentration camp,
it absolutely is. I read somewhere that there's a 10% culling rate. Basically, like 10% of the people, and maybe this is not true. I don't know. I tried to find it and I couldn't find it, but I remember reading that there was it was on like a official website that there was like a 10% culling rate. Like every year, 10% of the inmates die. It's crazy, dude.
Out of your mind. Tell me anybody that's returning from there. You saw those pictures. Do you think anybody's getting out of there? Or, is it a rehabilitation center? You think I've been to those places in South Sudan and around in those areas? Do you think anybody's getting out of those South Sudan prisons ever?
Dude, even the concentration camps in Xinjiang, what is that? What it's called with the Uyghurs, dude? Like, they are sterilizing those people. They are, they are. I mean, they're raping and beating the shit out of them. They're keeping them in tight quarters and all this. It is, by all intents and purposes, like a concentration camp, and they're killing people. They're also they are apparently letting some people out, from what I've seen. So the fact, like, and yeah, who the fuck is getting let out of there? Who is getting let out of there? No one. They are there, and they are going to be like put to work and forced to work until they die, or until they're liberated.
That's a death camp. They're done. They're over. And if you're not dead, you would want to be dead if you were in that prison.
Well, today the leader of El Salvador hit back on
It's
Twitter
insane.
with this.
You look at the rooms. These rooms, they're big rooms, but they have like 100 people in it. It's like crazy, and these beds are stacked so high. It's just like it's unlivable. It's insane. It's like a human rights violation. It's ridiculous.
Blunt reply is Hunter Biden sniffing powdered milk, referring to Biden's earlier troubles with drug use. And then US Border Czar Tom Homan was just as blunt.
I don't really care what the former first drug addict thinks.
Yeah, and I went and talked to like somebody who was
people are
Salvadorian.
So gross. The first drug addict. Does that mean we can call Trump the first felon? You disgusting. Like you're so particular with your insults and your criticism. Like it's just like you're just bullies. Like you're actually, it's not even like I could talk about how you're like a subhuman, disgusting, like fascist bootlicker, or I could just say the reality, which is you're just a bully. Like you are like picking on somebody. Like since when was it cool to make fun of like drug addicts that have recovered? Since when is it like a cool thing or a good thing or a funny thing or a base thing or a tolerable thing in mainstream media to kick people when they're down and they're recovering drug addict? Like it's like, yeah, like I said, I could pull out the book of all the different names, you're just a bully, dude. It's so gross.
And I was like, what do you think about that? And they were like, it's the best thing that ever happened. You know, El Salvador is now 15, 16 times safer and has like a much lower homicide rate.
Yeah.
We referenced the case of that guy who got sent there, the Maryland guy who was, you know, not even, I think he was actually a citizen or something like that. And he got sent there, got sent there without trial. Yeah. Do you see any merit to like the flip side of the coin?
No, I don't see the merits to any argument in which the way in which you solve a problem is by completely dehumanizing people, utilizing the tools of a fascist dictatorship.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
like
this is why I was saying earlier in the stream that I feel like a possible thing that will happen is that I don't know if I haven't seen it really happen right now, but I feel like we're gonna start seeing a lot of comparisons to ICE and the SS. I don't know, just like especially with this, like the way that ICE is deporting people into these concentration camps in El Salvador, right? Like they're gathering these people up and they're shipping them off to camps or alligator Alcatraz, dude. That shit is insane. Like this alligator Alcatraz where they're just like putting all these hungry alligators around the vicinity to keep them from like it's actually like it's cartoonishly evil. It's like very bluntly like openly like evil. And yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like eventually we're going to start seeing more and more parallels between ICE and the SS, Hitler's SS. Not to say, I mean, in principle, I don't have an issue with ICE as a concept, but with the way that Donald Trump is utilizing ICE, I'm calling it now that we're just going to see more and more, and it's going to become very apparent what Donald Trump's goals are.
No, do I believe in that? No,
yeah.
It's the oldest political tool in the toolbox, which is, you know, like hang them high. You know, like I got no problem with people that are deserving of punishment to be punished, but to create an entire system in which you have no due process, no habeas corpus, no ability of any judicial review as it relates to the state's actions against you, without any chance of pleading your case or your innocence or or any tempering of whatever it is that you have been accused of doing. It's barbaric. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have rights under that constitution. And that's why Supreme Court has continuously held over the past 250 years is that, you know, certain punishments are outside the scope of any human being's constitutional rights.
Yeah, I was just surprised because, I mean, they were talking about Bukele like he was like the savior of their country. I just didn't expect that reaction. She was like, yeah, now, you know, my grandma's not getting extorted running a, you know,
by the way, so that's it, you know, that's a flip side. And if you're telling me that the only way that you can do that is to create a concentration camp and put people in it without any judicial review, I don't want to live in that country.
Yeah, so you think like,
even though my grandmother would be safe, or I'm safe, until I get crosswise with the president of El Salvador or anybody that works for him.
Yeah.
And then I'm become a prisoner in a concentration camp in which nobody leaves. And that's not hyperbole. You walk in there, you do not come out. It's a death camp. And the idea.
Yeah, look at this. These beds, they're stacked like so. Like this is insane. Like all these beds, like this looks like Auschwitz. It actually does, like with the stacked bunks where all the people are just like in these little tiny like bunks that they're just like flat. They're not like, there's no mattresses or anything. They're literally flat, like obviously the concentration camps aren't made out of steel, but like the same. It's just like flat material, like solid material, and that's it. It's crazy.
It's regardless.
Like this is like insane.
In there, you do not.
This is crazy, and the way that they treat these people too. Like I understand that there are within here there are definitely some violent criminals that deserve to be in here. The problem is I don't know. I can't. When I look into a prison, or if I see inside of a prison like footage or anything, I'm going to look at those people and assume that 99.9999% of them are there rightfully, that they should be there. When I look at this, I have no clue. Genuinely. I have no clue. I genuinely don't know. And it's terrifying to think about. Like, yeah.
It's a death camp. And the idea that we're sending U.S. citizens, regardless, you know, by the way, if that's a decision that El Salvador and El Salvadorians want to make for their own good, the idea that the President of the United States is snatching people off the streets and without any judicial review, without any chance to plead your case, sending them to a death camp in El Salvador, it's hard to believe that we're in that spot.
Yeah, that's you just said exactly what I was
I had somebody bring up something to me where basically they were like, you do realize that Obama deported up of people without due process. And it was like, it's supposed to be some kind of own. And I found it very interesting because, so, yes, there was, when Obama was, first off, Democrats are always criticizing Obama. He's called the deporter in chief, you know, mainly because, you know, that is, those aren't Republicans criticizing him for deporting people. Those are Democrats criticizing him for deporting people, right? And Democrats have always been pretty openly, like, critical of all, you know, Democratic, you know, politicians in general that are, like, not, they're basically doing stuff when it comes to, you know, deporting people. And Obama was deporting people without due process, but the problem was it wasn't like a part of any like legislative or executive order. It was, the problem was is that within the detention centers, some of them were just like super outdated and they didn't have like proper access to phones. And so a lot of families that were trying to, you know, claim asylum and get lawyers, they weren't able to get those lawyers because they were, you know, they didn't have access to phones. And so they were there and then they were like, well, you didn't get a lawyer, so f off. And it's like, that's really bad. It's really bad. It's not good. Right. But that is very different when we're talking about people who are coming over the border and seeking asylum, and them, like, because of, you know, poor management of the facilities, getting sent back, as opposed to people who are here legally that are allowed to be here, getting ripped off of the streets, no due process. Donald Trump is pointing to photoshopped numbers on his fingers, calling them actual tattoos, and using that as a justification for not giving this guy due process. It's crazy. It's not even remotely comparable. We have never seen anything like this. There have been failures from a lot of, pretty all presidents in terms of handling the border, and yeah, it's just something that somebody brought up to me because they were like, well, you can't criticize Obama, or you can't criticize Donald Trump for deporting people without due process because Obama did the same thing. But it's not the same thing, because at the end of the day, it's not like a legislative decision. It was just like a really bad up and short-sighted handling of some certain facilities, as opposed to Donald Trump, who's intentionally doing this, by the way, in a way that in a magnitude we've never seen. It's crazy, dude. Yeah, so it's disgusting.
They get at, which is like, regardless of how people in El Salvador feel about it,
Yeah.
because some of them do have positive feelings about it,
Yeah.
the fact that we're utilizing it
Yeah.
is crazy. Because that's not even our country. And so it's like you're finding a place to collaborate with that has no judicial process as a way to get around basic human rights.
Yeah.
So pretty much like a couple weeks after our big interview, Trump and Pam Bondi had a press conference of some kind and were asked about the Epstein files, which they promised to release. And they said, no big deal, stop talking about this creep, nothing to see here, keep moving. But the question is, what was your first reaction when you saw that?
My first reaction, it's so predictable. It's the obvious conclusion to a conspiracy theory for which his base was so attached to and can remain so attached to. It is the principal motivating factor for an enormous part of the energy within MAGA base. And if you read any of, I'll think of his name in a second, but he'd written about this extensively, is that people do not understand to the degree that the global cabal of conspiracy is at the root of so much of the MAGA movement, and they're very, very, very attached to it. At the end of the day, is that I don't know if he is able.
And they always they always involve kids with it too. It's so strange. Like, kids should not be. It's like, this is not like it's kids should not have any concept. Like, I remember when I was a kid, you know, my mom had to teach me how to be safe and stay away from, without telling me, yeah, actually there are adults who are going to try to have sex with you. And I didn't even know what sex was when I was like a really little kid. Like, the fact that these kids not only like know what sex is, but also know what it is, and like have it in their head that they're in danger and at risk. Like, it's insane. It's disgusting, dude. Like, I don't know how your brain can get to this point where you think this is like a good thing for your kid, to put them in an environment like this where you're having them protest against their own potential rape. It's crazy.
Very, very, very attached to it. At the end of the day, is that I don't know if he is going to be, even by distraction, whether it's me or threatening Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship or whatever other distraction that he has come up with in the last 4 hours, because it really is a core tenet of their belief that cabal exists, and that cabal was populated mainly by global elites and Democrats. So he now says that it's all a hoax. The Epstein conspiracy was all a hoax. And he said to his followers, you're no supporter of mine if you continue to promote this hoax. And then says that it was conspiracy.
He was crashing out on Truth Social when all this was happening. Because that I never, because I always made a joke where I'm like, Donald Trump could get outed as a and people would still support him. And actually, oh man, how many Republicans support Trump? I remember seeing a statistic about how many Trump supporters would still support him even if he was proven to be a child predator. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but I remember I don't want to speculate on a number, but it was unsettlingly high, like really high. Like it wasn't like 1 or 2%. It was like I wish I remembered what it was, but yeah, so but like anyway, I always made this joke where I'm like, oh, he could get called out as a pedo and people would still support him. But I was actually really surprised how many people were upset at him for like trying to sweep it under the rug. I thought there was no way for them to break the programming. And actually something that I've kind of like come to the conclusion of over time is like, I think that there's no way to just break the programming for these like brainwashed people like immediately, or like there's not one moment. I think it's just like going to be the amalgamation of things over a long period of time where eventually more and more people are just going to get sick of it. Even the most brainwashed are going to get sick of it. And so, yeah, basically that's what I see happening is by the end of Trump's term, I think a lot of people are going to be against him. I think his approval rating is going to be very, very low. And that's a bit concerning because who knows what he'll do. Like, you know, maybe in spite of everybody, he'll try to give himself a third, fourth, fifth, I don't know, until he dies. Just infinite terms, which hopefully wouldn't happen. But yeah.
Conspiracy that was started by Obama and Biden to get him. If that's the case, is he saying that we Democrats had the ammunition, the conspiracy to deploy against Donald Trump in 2016, but we didn't use it. And then we had 4 years to do it while he was president. Yep. And then we had 4 years to use it when...
it's just so stupid. And then the whole time, the Republican right wing, I guess I should say, media sphere is talking about, and more specifically on social media, is talking about, oh, the Democrats they're scared of the Epstein files. They don't want the Epstein files to come out. So it's like, what is it? Because on one hand, Joe Biden is criticized because like, why didn't you release the files? But at the same time, it's like, well... that's a good question because according to Trump, we made the files. So why wouldn't we release the files if we made them? It just doesn't make any sense. It's like they'll give you two completely separate arguments, depending on like vibes alone. It's actually crazy.
My dad was president of the United States, and then we didn't use it in the 2024 campaign against him either. We waited until he became president, took over the Department of Justice like no other president has it in his lifetime, took over the FBI, and they report directly to the president for the first time in history, by the way. And now that they have the information, there's nothing to see. And it was all a hoax by Biden. It literally makes no sense. And I wonder if it'll work, though. I mean, with his supporters, I wonder if they'll drop it.
You think they'll forget?
I don't know. I guess it's going to be the real test. I think this will be the first real test. Because in other times they have. I mean, look, he said that the election was stolen. And Fox News followed him down that rabbit hole to the tune of $782 million that they had to pay in a lawsuit to Dominion, you know? But it didn't stop them. It didn't stop any, you know, they put on January 6th committee. They went through chapter and verse, all of the information about the 2020 election and whether it was stolen or not, and what happened on January 6th. But
yeah, it's so ridiculous that they are constantly talking about, once again, Russia. The Democrats are trying to make it look like the 2016 election had Russian collusion. And it's like, yeah, didn't like the most well-known conservative media company, Fox News, didn't they get sued and had to settle because the lawsuit was so bad? They settled for literally like an unfathomable amount of money because they lied about election rigging. And it's like you're you're like hand-wringing. You're like, oh, the Democrats are lying about it. And we're not even lying. We're telling the truth and you're hand-wringing. Meanwhile, you lied about it and you never talk about it. You don't have any criticism. These conservative fucks aren't ever talking about, yeah, that was really bad. It was really bad. The Dominion lawsuit was really bad. Fox News was really bad. It's really bad that they were knowingly spreading like false information. Like, they don't give a f. It's so gross.
You know what? His entire base still believes, even though there is all the data and all the film, that it was still a bunch of peaceful people that walked into the Capitol, and any violence that occurred happened because of Antifa.
Antifa in MAGA hats.
In MAGA hats, yeah.
I love that. I love how like it's like that. I don't think these people could ever admit to doing anything wrong ever. I don't think anyone could, like, you ask any Democrat, it's like, hey, was it bad when people were breaking into, like, rioting buildings during, like, BLM protests? They would all be like, yeah, that completely distracted from the original point, and it discredited, like, the well-intentioned movement, and it made a lot of people, most of the people there who weren't doing anything wrong, look bad. Like, no one would say, like, looting, well, I don't know, maybe some people would say looting was good there, but I would say the vast majority of Democrats would say that the looting was bad, and they would denounce it. But, like, I feel like no conservatives are willing to say that January 6th was a violent attempt at an insurrection. I mean, think about it like this, right? I mean, those people there, they all believe that the election was stolen. All of them are there because they believe the election. That's irrefutable. The election was stolen, and we're going to be there to what? They say protest. They say, oh, we were there because we were protesting, right? But the problem is like, in my opinion, if Adolf Hitler was revived and given like robot arms and a robot brain, a robot heart, he became like mecha zombie Hitler, right? And he somehow manages, he's running for the 2028 election. It's Hunter Biden versus mecha Hitler. And mecha Hitler gets 100% of the votes. And we're all like, hey, wait, what the f? There is no way that mecha Hitler should be getting, the election was stolen. Clearly, evidently, because there's no way 100% of America voted for mecha zombie Hitler, right? So I would say in that instance, it is justifiable to overthrow the government. Obviously, it would be justifiable. Like you can't deny it. So the problem is like, well, that's what you guys thought. You guys thought that the election was stolen, that there was no way that it was true, that and if that's the case, then you would be justified, regardless of the evidence, like the evidence available to the people. Like, forget about that. Forget about Donald Trump's culpability or the evidence that they had available. If they genuinely believe that, then trying to overthrow the government would make sense. So I don't know why they want to act like that's not what it was. Like, no, we were just there protesting. It wasn't like a violent attempt at an insurrection. We were just there protest. It's like you were going to stand there and like, what was the original plan? It got out of hand, right? Like the original plan was to just stand there and say, no, stealing the election is bad. And then like letting them do it. No, that you like, it wasn't Antifa people. It wasn't feds that were like tricking you to go in there. It wasn't Ray Sipe or whatever his name was, right? His name was Ray Sipe or something. No, Ray Sipe is that guy. Who's the guy? January 6th. Ray Epps. Ray Epps is the name. Like, it wasn't Ray Epps. It was like, it's not any of that. It was, you guys are unhinged. You thought the election was stolen because you're stupid and you believe anything Donald Trump tells you, and you tried to overthrow the government. I don't know why you just admit it. Because still to this day, they say the election was stolen. And they say that they were there to protest the stolen election. So you're telling me that you thought the election was stolen and you weren't there to take it back. And the only reason that people stormed the Capitol building was because there were feds there and they tricked some stupid people into doing it. And then there was like this crowd, like there's like crowd psychology or whatever it's called. Like that. Oh, that's what happened. Okay. Like, it's so stupid. Like, it's really, really dumb.
Do you feel that your time in prison changed your belief systems at all?
Like, regarding politics?
Yeah.
No. But this one, I think, is different.
QAnon shaman is lashing out at the man who gave him a pardon. Chansley called the president a fraud.
And it's different because how do you explain it?
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, the QAnon shaman. Oh my God. This stupid piece of shit. What a fraud. Base, dude. You can come over to our side. We could use the QAnon shaman in our ranks, I think.
The president a fraud.
And it's different because how do you explain it away? Like there's this one came from them. He rode that energy into the presidency twice. It'll be interesting. I don't know.
Do you think that his choice to not release the files was because there's not much of interest on there, or because he's compromised in some capacity by what's in the files?
I don't know. I truly can only go by what other people are saying. And one of the things that I'm certain of is that what I said before is kind of the Occam's razor, which is that, you know, the simplest explanation is almost always true. And what's the simplest explanation is that of anyone in power right now, or anyone that held power, to the degree that Donald Trump is holding power now, his connections to Jeffrey Epstein are beyond a doubt that he and Epstein were very close friends for a very long period of time. They spent an enormous time together. They spent an enormous time together around young women, as in his own words.
Trump's got more pictures with Epstein than I do with my own grandma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, just think about this.
Honestly, yeah.
That
actually might apply to me too. I never really liked taking pictures as a kid, which I now regret. But yeah, he probably does also have more pictures with Epstein than I do with my grandma.
Ghislaine, how do you pronounce it?
It's technically Ghislaine.
Ghislaine.
I know that.
Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell is when she gets convicted, and he's asked about it. And this is when he was president, 2020 still. And he goes, you know, I wish her well.
I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
And then he explains that.
And he knew what happened, by the way, but.
Like, she's a good person, and I wish her well. Now, she's just been convicted of sex trafficking, and, you know, dozens and dozens of teenage girls. When he's then pressed on it in an interview after that, he says, I wish her well. I wish everyone well. I don't wish anyone harm.
Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
I don't know that, but I do know that.
She has. She's been arrested for that.
Yeah, I wish her well.
I don't
wish
know
you well.
that.
I wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean...
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
You do know that.
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean, she's a child sex trafficker.
Big deal.
Are you out of your mind? Yeah. He can't wish anyone well on Christmas morning without sending out a tweet or Truth Social or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's true. Also, to posture like you give a about everyone, like while you're dehumanizing every single person who's ever slighted you in your entire life. The idea that you care about, you wish everyone well, it's just such.
You know, blaming the leftist, you know, socialist, communist Democrats and Joe Biden and blah, 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 blah. I mean, literally, on Easter Sunday, he doesn't wish anybody well. There's never been a time in which he's ever, in my estimation, wished anyone well, let alone a convicted sex trafficker.
Yeah.
And so what's going on there? Okay, well, they knew each other well. They spent an enormous time together. According to his biographer, is that Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania. That's how Melania and the First Lady.
Also, keep in mind, yeah, actually, because he's saying, oh, I wish her well. He's like, well, I don't know if she's a child predator or not. And it's like, you knew her super well. And retroactively, she eventually did end up being proven. Both of these people were proven to be child predators. Like, I find it really hard to believe that you just had no idea. You didn't know at all. You had no idea. Because also, wasn't the story that, like, when Epstein originally got arrested for the first time in, like, what was it, 2006? He was like, he stopped being friends with him or whatever. Or maybe it was, like, mid-2000. I don't remember the exact year. He's like, I stopped being friends with him after that. I stopped being around him after that. It's like, so you knew, you had to have known, like, you knew, come, like, don't act like you didn't know, you knew, like, come on, dude.
Lady and the president met.
Really?
Yeah.
Epstein made the intro.
Yeah, according to Michael Wolff.
Yeah.
And so I only can go by what people are saying.
Wait.
Epstein made the intro.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein described himself as Donald Trump's closest friend and claimed intimate knowledge of his proclivity for sex, including cuckolding his best friends. Oh yeah, I think there was a story where Trump like cucked Epstein. I feel like I heard about. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it was the other way around. No, I'm pretty sure Trump did that to Epstein or something, and that's like one of the last fights they had or something. The convicted even boasted of his closeness to Trump, and his now wife Melania. I think it was one of the people that like accused him in like a lawsuit or something. that they were both involved in. I don't remember. I'd have to look into it. I just vaguely remember something like that. The convicted even boasted of his closeness to Trump and his now wife Melania by claiming, "The first time he slept with her was on my plane, which was dubbed the Lolita Express." Epstein spoke at length about Trump with the author Michael Wolff in August 2017, 2 years before being found dead in his jail cell. Wolff was researching his bombshell bestseller, Fire and Fury, at the time.
According to Michael Wolff. And so I only can go by what people are saying, and I don't know.
As many of you guys know, the first 3.5-hour Hunter Biden interview broke headlines nationwide. Here, as you can see, using the Ground News bias distribution tool, the left and the right are covering our Hunter Biden interview very differently. The left-wing New York Magazine headline reads, "Hunter Biden unloads on his father's team, George Clooney, and critics," while the right-wing Daily Wire reads, "Hunter Biden defends illegals with slew of F-bombs." Interesting to see what each party chooses to focus on. I did notice that across the board from left to right, they're all pretty obsessed with his profanity and calling it a vulgar tirade, as if they've never heard someone say.
That's what I liked about that interview though, is that he was just like, these people, you. I was like, dude, this is what we need. We need this kind of gusto. We need this kind of balls. You know, we need somebody who can match Trump in the sense of not being a subhuman, but being like a provocative and like a bit controversial. Like, that's what we need. We need somebody to unify around. The liberals and the Democratic Party, we need somebody to unify around, you know? And he's the guy, okay? He's the guy, dude.
Anyways, something else that doesn't get enough attention is how many news stories aren't actually real news.
Zoran is a socialist. He's just not the guy. Also, he LARPs like a impoverished kid. It's really cringe. Yeah, he's absolutely not the guy.
Stories at all. That's why Ground News shows you how many actual sources are covering a story, so you can figure out if an article is legit information or just echo chamber nonsense designed to grease the algorithm and control your mind. Anyways, another feature I love to use at Ground News, their blind spot tool, which shows you the stories that might not be appearing in your typical media bubble. For all those reasons, I trust Ground News to help Channel 5 cut straight through the noise. And right now, you can subscribe for 40% off the unlimited access Vantage plan, bringing the cost down to less than $5 a month. Just scan the QR code here or click the link below to sign up. Supporting Ground News means helping to support us, which means that we can keep making videos like this and giving y'all coverage that isn't watered down or dictated by corporate interests. So check it out, stay informed, and most importantly, don't let the media tell you what to think.
In Epstein's own words, he was his actual best friend for well over a decade. The thing that is like, I'm loath to do is like, but feed into another goddamn conspiracy theory. It's just so destructive to the entirety of the cultural fabric. It's like, I think it's an important story, but I think it's an important story because of the victims. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it's an important story. Yeah. You know, when my brother was Attorney General.
This is another big point when conservatives will be like, why didn't you guys ever talk about the Epstein files? Like, why do you only care now? It's like, well, you guys cared because you wanted to make a spectacle out of it and you wanted to use it against Democrats because you thought that you could, like, get us exposed and discredit us, right? Or when I say us, I just mean like the Democratic Party. Like, you thought you could like discredit the Democratic movement, the Democratic Party with these things, but Democrats like just cared about the fact that children were being exploited. You guys didn't care about that. You just wanted to dunk on Democrats, and you wanted to act like Democrats had something to hide, right? So that's the main difference. We cared. We just didn't make it a big deal on social media and try to like plaster everyone we didn't like as a like, that's the main difference.
He convicted the most prolific sex offender in history.
John Wayne Gacy.
No, and over 248 victims. I think over 250 victims. And his name was oh God, I forget his name. Doctor. He was a pediatrician, and he filmed it all. And he would take pre-verbal children that were his patients into a room by themselves, and he filmed him sexually abusing them.
Firing squad.
Over years and years and years. And my point about it is this. He had a whole office. He was an incredibly well-respected doctor in Southern Delaware. He was the chair of one of the hospital's pediatric divisions. Mm-hmm. He had a practice, and over the course of decades, had seen thousands of children. But everyone knew there's something weird. Everyone knew. Now, what he did, he was so diabolical that he only targeted children that couldn't speak or that were pre-verbal. So I'm talking about like 2-3 year old toddlers. And the only thing that got him was that he had filmed it all. And so when my brother was by the way, law enforcement had known about it for years. Had been getting complaints from mothers, had been getting complaints from like children that couldn't fully form it, and no one was willing to bring the case. And it was the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. Because I think the only thing that really to take away from this is that men are pigs. And the fact of the matter is that pedophilia is much more pervasive than you would think that.
This is super true because isn't there like a statistic where it's like 1 in 5 boys and 1 in 3 girls, or maybe it's the other way around, are like, it's like a very like high amount. It's like, we're talking like 20 to 30% of all children are molested. It's like, and sure, there's probably some repeat offenders in there, but overall, that is like a big chunk of the population, unless every is averaging like 10 kids. But even then, you know, if you were to take like 30, like if we're going to say like low ball, say like 20% of kids are molested, right? If we're to say that each has molested 10 kids, we're talking about for each, that would be like 2% even then, if it was just like each just did 1. So like, and that's assuming that there's like a high amount, like, which obviously just isn't reality. Realistically, it's a little lower than like what the actual number would be, but that's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's really common, especially when you consider like, you know, like how common like barely legal porn is, and there's so many lollies and honestly, also in my videos where I've covered like people who have like exploited minors and stuff, I get so many comments of people being like, dude, she was 16, she can make her own decisions. Like, dude, like she's 14, she knows what she's doing. Like, I get like all the time, I get those comments. Like, it's not like and I'm not just saying all the time, like being dramatic, like I've gotten it like 2 or 3 times. No, I've gotten these comments probably like 50 or 60, like 70 times, like from different people over the last 2 years. Like, it is a very, like, not only is it like, because there's people who, you know, just stay quiet. Those are just the people that said something, right? Those are the people that got mad enough to comment on my videos and talk about how like it's actually not a big deal to have sex with like minors or like these like 16-year-old girls when you're 30 years old, you know, like. But yeah, it is way more common than anyone would like to admit.
That it is, and I think people's willingness to believe it is because of their own experience in life. And I wish that was the discussion that people were having about protecting children, because most of Jeffrey Epstein's victims were not like, 18, 19, 24-year-old models that came over to work for John Casablancas and Elite Models and got themselves in a bad situation on his island. Most of them were like 14, 15-year-old girls from West Palm Beach that he would, manipulate into coming over to his house. But I'm not talking like 1 or 2. I'm talking, there were hundreds, and everybody knew. And he had a full staff of people, and he had friends that were there, and he had, and I'm not saying that means that everybody that was in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein or was at one of his salons was necessarily I mean, he had the Dalai Lama at his house at one point. That does not mean that I don't have the complete reverence for the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
But that's how he would sucker people in, is that you would have these powerful people and you would see kind of like this other thing going on. You could think they must like have been like, suspension of disbelief. I mean, like I don't know. But in retrospect, everybody's like, oh yeah, like that was weird. And I think that that's what's going on here. And I think that what probably exists is a lot of the victims recounting that they were there when he was there.
So you're not as concerned about the conversation over whether it was a destination or if it was some kind of like intelligence honeypot. You're more focused on the broader conversation about and the pervasiveness of among the power.
No, I wish everybody would be more concentrated on that. But the fact of the matter is nobody is. So like, that's like, I mean, it doesn't matter. That thread has completely been lost. So now there is a real question, and he's making it. And in any other political situation, it would be, like it would be over. It would be over for this person. He's directed his attorney general, because his attorney general, by his own account, doesn't do anything without his direction. Okay, he directs the FBI because his FBI director, by anyone's account, does not do anything without his direction. Nobody. Not one of his cabinet members. None of it happens inside cabinet and down. There's no separation whatsoever between the Oval Office and the entire administration in terms of its leadership. And that doesn't mean that he's fully aware of every decision that is obviously being made, like, Pete Hague says, stopping aid to Ukraine without telling him. But that's just because people are, that he's chosen a bunch of morons.
So you're saying he made the choice to shut it down?
Yeah.
And do you think he made that choice because he was on the list? the list, or because someone higher than him was pressuring him or perhaps blackmailing him into keeping it?
Oh, no. I think it's because I don't think that there's probably an actual list, like a black book. Like the woman who I think is the smartest on this is the reporter that originally broke the story in Palm Beach, the Miami Herald. I forget her name, but I heard her speaking, and she said, look, we've all known for a long time that there is no list. But by the way, think about this too. How many different investigators have there been on this? You had the Palm Beach Police, you had the State's Attorney's Office in Florida, you had the FBI and multiple different offices and headquarters. You had the Southern District of New York. You have the U.S. Attorney in Palm Beach. In each one of those, there were grand juries impaneled. There's grand jury information. There is an enormous amount of evidence that was collected, and that all exists. Okay, and every one of those people from all the leaks, and I can tell you from my own experience, having had to go through all that shit, is none of it stays confidential. It always leaks. And if there was a list and actual names, like, John Smith, blah, 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 check mark. You know what I mean? Like 6 times at the island or whatever. I don't think he did that. I think what he did is that there is a body of information in a wide-ranging investigation in which his name appears probably as much or more than anybody else because they were together by their own words. I'm not even making it up. I feel like I don't want to
Well, Trump says they used to hang a lot, but then he figured out that, he was into underage people, and he was like, I got to stop hanging out with this guy.
No. He never says that that's the reason that he stopped hanging out with him.
He said it one time. He was like, Jeffrey, we were cool, but I don't know about him now.
After he was convicted of solicitation.
After he became an RSO, registered sex offender, Trump was like, all right, man, that's enough. I'm just giving you the Trump defense devil's advocate because that's what he's going to say.
Yeah. And I boy. Like, wow. Like, once you got convicted, which, by the way, yes, you're right. That is, he does say that. Is when that happened, when Alex Acosta came up with a non-prosecution agreement and gave every single person, named or unnamed, in the indictment, immunity.
Yeah.
Everybody. And then Trump became president and named Alex Acosta the Secretary of Labor. Out of the blue, as if he had any qualifications.
Did Trump ever suggest back in the heyday of 2020 that you had a connection to Jeffrey Epstein of some kind?
I don't think so.
You never got wrapped up?
No.
Just loose associations in the mind of Trump
Don't
supporters.
start it either. No. My God, I got enough goddamn problems. It's like, no one yet, and now.
I figured they'd somehow
there you go.
tie you to it.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, do you think it was like a suicide? Epstein?
No. Nobody does. I mean, really, except for all of a sudden, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Nobody thinks it was. Yeah. Is that you have that renowned doctor, a coroner, that did the what's it called?
By the way, it's so disgusting. By the way, because basically everyone in Trump's cabinet, at some point, was saying, like, yeah, release the files. We need these files out. We need these files out. These files are a big deal. And they're like calling out Democrats. And they're saying like, oh, this is super important. Like, I literally have it in my Obsidian. I have multiple links of Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and JD Vance all talking about it. Okay, like this is it. And now all of a sudden they just don't don't want to talk about it. There's nothing there. Who cares about this stuff anymore? Why does anyone care about Jeffrey Epstein? Like, that's what Trump said, right? Why does anyone care at all? I don't know. Look at all the people around you. Apparently they care very deeply, or at least they were pretending to.
Autopsy.
Yeah, the postmortem autopsy.
I don't know if that's what it's called.
He talks about all the different, the different fractures in his neck and how it was impossible that he could have done that.
You can't
by simply
commit suicide by strangling yourself.
What?
You can't commit suicide.
Exactly.
You
And he
can't
says
strangle yourself to death, even if you hate life.
Yes, exactly. That literally is an impossibility.
Oh, yeah, like strangling yourself to death. Yeah, it's like a mental block. It's like the same reason like you could very easily bite your fingers off, but you just can't. Like, you literally can't. Also, I'm pretty sure it's also because like you lose strength. Like, I think you would just like eventually like stop strangling yourself. Like, you wouldn't be able to continue strangling yourself while you're passing out. Like, that just, it just doesn't make any sense.
In a fiction. And there's this idea that what he did is like he leaned forward. Well, none of it matches up. There's that guy that just testified not testified, he was interviewed that was in the cell next to Jeffrey Epstein's. And he said it's just absolutely impossible that he would have been able to do that. Now you have the tape that comes out. And it's not just 1 minute missing from the tape. It's actually 3 minutes from the tape has been overwritten.
Well, that's standard protocol at the most secure facility in the country.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just that alone. You have someone that everyone absolutely knows that if anything happens to him you're going to be accused of a gigantic cover-up. And he dies, and the guy that is his co-conspirator in France, what's his name? He just happens to, commit suicide or, died in mysterious ways in prison. And, the woman who's living in Australia, she commits suicide just before that. I mean, look, again, I'm feeding into the conspiracy. But clearly, I mean, who believes that he killed himself?
No one.
Nobody.
I've never met anyone who does. But I mean, to be fair, let's keep it real. He was in a pretty bad situation. It's not like
I feel like I'm not sure. I feel like I've always been agnostic to it because I never like looked into it too much. But it always seemed like I do remember that initial thing I heard where it's like he had certain bones that broke that wouldn't have made sense from like the way, like it would have to have been someone else did it. And also the fact that the cameras weren't on. And now we get the footage and there's only 3 minutes missing. That's pretty weird that there's like 3 minutes of the tape is just missing. It's very strange.
Like he's in a situation which you wouldn't be suicidal in. I mean, he's being tried.
You know what kills me about this more than anything? What? Is in any way agreeing with Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
It kills me. And that's the thing that's just being like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to feed into this.
Yeah.
So just from...
Look, I was a frequent flyer to the Epstein files. I was going to Little St. James, okay? I was there, okay? But I was there, contract work. I was just working on the roof, okay? I had to go back a few times. Whenever there's a leaky patch, I had to go in, okay? So that's why I went there about 26, 27, 28 times to Little St. James. But I am innocent, okay? I will not stand for these allegations, Croman, dude.
From the political side, like, who am I to know whether he killed himself or not? I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Who do you think would have killed him? Like CIA mercenaries or something?
No.
The Mossad, dude. It's the Jews. It's Israel, right? It's what Nick Fuentes was saying. It can't be the mercenaries. It has to be the Mossad.
I don't know.
It was like the covetous Jew meme. He had his little hat on and he was like rubbing his hands together and he walked in there and he's like, eh. That's what happened.
Other inmates? Inmates
what, like
do.
you mean like a ninja? Are we like in a...
Somebody killed him in a 3-minute
James
window.
Bond movie now? What?
I mean, somebody killed him in a 3-minute window.
It was Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Yeah.
Also, other inmates don't like, accuse child molesters.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think it's very hard, at least from my years of watching Hollywood prison movies.
Yeah.
For something, my whole experience with the prison system. But it seems, at least from other events, that getting to somebody in prison isn't as hard as you think it would be. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I think that there were probably a lot of people who would rather him not be alive. And by the way, but does it matter? I mean, at this point, I mean, obviously it matters, and if you could ever figure it out. But it doesn't answer the question of why there's been this slow about face. It's like, that whole story about, and it's too long a story to tell, but it starts off with the guy who calls and he said, he's watching somebody's cat, calls and asks, and the guy calls and how's the cat? And he said, the cat's on the roof. You know this whole thing?
I don't know, but I'll look into it.
He says the cat's on the roof, and then the guy says, what's the cat doing up on the roof? He said, call me back in 10 minutes. And he calls him back in 10 minutes. He said, well, the cat's off the roof now, but he fell into the trash can. And the guy goes, well, we'll go get him out of the trash can. He said, well, he's out of the trash can, but, I was carrying him back, and he fell in the pool, and so he's in the pool now. And he goes, and it keeps going and going and going. And finally he goes, how's the cat? And he said, the cat died. And he says, why did you tell me he was on the roof? And he said, I just wanted to soften the blow. And I forget why I just told the cat on the
No, I understand. I understand the blow's getting soft.
What they did is they started off and they released like one thing, but it wasn't the full thing, and then they kind of wanted to see if they could kind of get away with that and get people off it and say, well, there's going to be a round 2 of this, and I didn't get it from the FBI, and the Southern District of New York has all the files, and of course it's the Southern District of New York, a bunch of liberal commies up there, we're going to get them under heel, and then when Cash gets in, he's going to be able to figure it out, and old Danny Boy is going to go in, and he's going to, shake the trees and make sure, and then they get that, and then those guys go on TV and they say, well, no, there was definitely not a suicide. It was definitely a suicide. It was clearly suicide. Sorry, I'd be the one to tell you otherwise. And then, until the point where they thought that they could just kind of slide this in on a Friday at midnight and see what happened, that they're not going to do anything more.
Yeah.
That's it. We just heard the end of the Epstein story.
Do you think that they expected this level of backlash?
No, clearly.
They were just used to people just going with whatever they said?
I think that they expected backlash. And that's why they did it the way that they did it. But well, we'll see. They may be right. Who knows?
I think, to be honest, at first I was surprised. Like I said, I was surprised that they were getting backlash. But I think at this point, his approval rating with Republicans is still 80% or something, which is pretty bad. His approval rating is abysmal. His approval rating with Democrats is what? It's like 1% maybe, or it's it might be 0%. I don't even know. It's bad. He has the worst approval rating ever. But even then, 80% Republicans, that he still has that many people that aren't upset at him and are happy with the job he's doing. It's crazy, and that's not even including all the other like with all the tariffs, all the lies about Ukraine, about fixing the economy. You only made the economy worse. He's been doing all this shit with Trump coin. He's been deporting people without due process and sending them to a concentration camp. And that's just like secondary to the whole Epstein thing, which is probably the most important thing for most people. And it's still 80% approval rate. It's crazy.
He may have that firm hold. You know, if this is truly a cult, which I believe that it is that I think he'll make it through. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what he did immediately in the past couple of days is deploy a bunch of different distractions in tandem. And your name's been brought up several times in the past couple of days, which I'm sure. Yeah. How do you feel when you're having a normal day, you're painting, you're hanging out, and you see that the sitting president of the U.S. is talking about you on Truth Social?
You know, it is. It's
like, why the like? It's so stupid. It's like, why even bring it up? Like, it's like the same thing like yesterday, like bringing up like Nancy Pelosi, like who was Brandon Herrera with his like, he was like talking about Nancy Pelosi when talking about the deep. It's like, brother, she's not the Speaker of House. She like, I don't know what the you're talking about. Like, I don't know. Like, she's not in the government, or I actually don't know. I don't think she has any job right now. Does she? Oh no, she's still in the House of Representatives actually. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. I wasn't sure if she just, because I didn't know if like after you're the Speaker of House, if you lose your job when you I didn't know. Okay, I guess that does make sense. Actually,
such a regular occurrence that it doesn't even faze me. I mean, at all. I think.
But even then, okay, she's just like one. She is literally one, right? One member of the House of Representatives, and it's like, this is who you're talking about. This is the deep state. This is the establishment that's out to get us, right? It's like, yeah, it's just so dumb. We're talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. We're talking about Nancy Pelosi and crooked Hillary and all this shit. It's just so dumb.
Names that she's been president well over 100 times. Me, not my dad. That's like thousands of times. Yeah. But you know, I dozens and dozens of times.
I really don't think that he's going to survive this. I don't think so, because they leaned on.
By the way, so I should be asking you.
Yeah.
And the reason I should be asking you is because I don't know anybody that has spent more time actually in a non-ironic way.
Yeah.
Talking to these people.
Right.
And trying to really figure out what makes them tick, where these conspiracies start. So, like, by the way, like every conspiracy, it has a giant thread of truth running to it. But like, why do you believe that they're not going to give it up?
Just because if you really think about the MAGA cult, the extremists, the people who feel like they want to live and die for this cause, it was that, you know, idea of a evil, demonic cabal connected to Epstein and the Democrats that really galvanized them in a way that went beyond politics. The whole thing of like saving the children, the adrenochrome stuff, like all that more fringe stuff, that powers the hearts of the boldest soldiers in the MAGA movement. Maybe there are people out there who just like Trump because he has strict border policy, or they like Trump because he's not into cancel culture and he says what he wants, and there's different reasons. But the true loyalists,
that is like the main reason that most people support him, by the way. It's literally just as stupid as that. It's just like, yeah, he's really funny. Like, that's genuinely why most people like him. Very sad.
The Kelly J. Patriots of the world, they're into the Epstein stuff. QAnon, that was January 6th.
Yes.
QAnon was January 6th.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of people out there. For example, if you go to a dive bar right now in central Nebraska, or somewhere in deep in Wisconsin, everybody there's.
Why is Trump still talking about Hillary? Because there's nothing else to talk about. Because to be fair, and this isn't a good thing, but there's nothing in the Democratic Party. Like, who can he on in the Democratic Party? Like, honestly. Wait, why am I blanking on his name? Gavin Newsom. Sorry, I almost had to look it up. Gavin Newsom's like the only one. The governor of California. Like, he could just shit on the governor of California, and just because it's California, and that's basically it. Like, who else is he supposed to shit on? It's just like random like House of Representative people, or just random senators, or random just anyone, and like anyone who just like does anything where like he probably just would pick on, and that's it, right? Like, it's just like not like he doesn't have anyone to actually pick on. So of course he has to go back to Hillary, he has to go back to Nancy Pelosi, he has to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. That's like, because what else is he going to talk about? What else is he going to complain and fearmonger about? He needs to like always keep this pressure on his voter base where it's like, we're the oppressed ones. We're the ones fighting back. We got to keep up the resistance, because he's got to keep his support galvanized, basically. Yeah, it's just stupid.
Right. Is everybody there a Capitol rioter? No. Is everybody there somebody that wears a Trump t-shirt and a hoodie every day? No. Those people who wear the uniform and live by those 4 letters, Epstein is their number one thing. And so what I think they're going to do is they're going to say either Trump is compromised now by the deep state and we need a new figure to rally behind, or the only way I could see Trump getting out of this is if he said, I actually have the files, but I need the files so that I can continue to blackmail powerful people and make sure that we can get the America First agenda continuously in the doorway.
That would actually be, that's actually the God tier strategy. That would be the God tier strategy. If he said, hey, basically, yeah, that, holy, how have I never thought of it? That actually is, because that's the type of evil that Trump could get away with. He could get away with that. And it would work. And it would be, and then he would be able to have an excuse where he's like, yeah, I'm not in the files, trust me, but I need to keep these hidden so I can blackmail people for the interests of the American people and for the MAGA movement. And then his supporters would be like, oh, okay. That's actually, he shouldn't have said that publicly because Trump should totally do that. That would work. That would be such a good, like, I don't want him to do it, but like, that is such a good idea, actually. Hopefully he doesn't hopefully he never sees this. No, but the other thing he said where it's like, oh, Trump is compromised, we need a new, the thing is, MAGA is going to die with Trump. Once Trump is out of the office, out of the Oval Office, the MAGA will die. Like, no one, not even like, they always like simp over Barron Trump. They always do that weird shit where they're always talking about Barron Trump. Like Barron Trump, Eric Trump, like all these, like all of his sons, like JD Vance, like none of these people, like Pete Hegseth or any, like no one's gonna vote for Marco Rubio, no one's gonna vote for Pete Hegseth, no one's gonna vote for JD Vance. Like, I mean, obviously, like if they're the primary, they'll get a decent amount of votes from diehard Republicans, but like, not like the MAGA movement will be gone, unless there's some kind of, I hope. There probably is some form of exit strategy they have. Just hope it doesn't work, I guess. Just hope it doesn't work, because otherwise, I don't know what we're going to do.
So I can see Trump being like, yeah, I didn't release them because I got dirt on these Democrats and I'm keeping them at bay. So I'm going to release it when the mission is complete. That is the only possible route they can have forward.
Oh, God, I hope you don't give him that idea.
Yeah, literally, dude. I think he just gave him like an actual genius idea.
I'm sure he's thought about it.
But by the way, so like I think we talked about this last time we spoke, is remember what the laptop is, okay? The laptop to 90% of the people is this amorphous kind of like make of it what you will, like dream up whatever crime you want, and that's what the laptop represents.
True. Yeah, I feel like there's like there's so much like, because there's no direct like what is the laptop. I think that's why they call it the laptop from hell. I was saying earlier, like they call it the laptop from hell because it's like you imagine it's really bad, but like even the largest claims that they were making, it's just like you know, using his dad's, you know, position as president to make money. Like that's like the worst of their claims. And I guess unless you think having sex with prostitutes is bad, which if that's the case, you probably shouldn't like Trump very much. But yeah, I wonder if that's intentional. So people just assume that it's like really bad. It's like, oh, there must be like in there like child porn or something, like, you know, like that must be the reason why.
To that 10% that you're talking about, it's the first thing that they did that Bernie Kerik and Gao and Giuliani did on separate tracks. Gao with Bannon and Giuliani and Kerik did.
It's Rudy Giuliani. Oh my God, all these people are so evil. Crazy. Oh my God. Just hearing all these names at once. Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani. Oh, who's that dude? Oh, who's that guy? Stephen Miller? Holy, that guy's like actual Hitler, dude. Holy God. Whenever I see him talk, he's like actual Hitler. Like Trump is stupid, right? So I feel like he doesn't have like Hitler aura, but like Stephen Miller is like Hitler, bro. Holy, like he is so unbelievably evil, dude. It's crazy. Yeah.
They accused me of pedophilia, and they kind of held up the laptop. I mean, it was like the ultimate McCarthy era. It's like, I got a list in my breast pocket. It was like, I got a laptop, and it has, you know, and hinted at underage girls, in Rudy Giuliani's words.
Pictures of underage girls.
And then they just let that sit out there.
Oh, they even said it directly. Pictures of underage girls.
And then Gao went
out,
which
there's no evidence of,
with,
by the
way. With that guy in New Zealand, and he actually put out like doctored images of like children in cages in Beijing or something like that, in which, you know, they're supposedly coming from my laptop. And so when you say was I ever tied into it, I wasn't tied into the Epstein one, but I was definitely.
I don't know why I randomly thought of this. You remember that Jordan B. Peterson like semen factory tweet? The Chinese dick sucking factory? I don't know why I just remember. Can I even show this? Wait. Why can't I find the original? Oh, he probably deleted that tweet. I don't think I should show this just because even when it's censored. What is going on in China? 3 children policy? Warning, graphic pictures, and it's just like from porn. It's like the milking or whatever it's called. Like it's like they put the tubes like they do for the cow udders and they like suck the cum out of the cock. He's like, this is horrifying. Such fun. An unbelievable techno nightmare CCP hell. Didn't even fact check it. He's just like, yeah, this is definitely real.
Definitely the target,
So
and one
fire.
of the reasons why the original 60 or so national security.
Wasn't Rudy the one that said he didn't get a rub and tug on TV? It was just a massage over the underwear? I don't remember. He wouldn't do that because he wants his people to see him as Captain America. Yeah, true. Rudy Giuliani. What I get? It was a massage parlor or something. Caught in humiliating bedroom scene. Oh, I remember this. Fuck! How did I forget about this, dude? The picture where he's like laying on the bed. Oh my god, I completely forgot about this. Maybe he totally said that. Jesus Christ. I had to take off the electric equipment, and when the electronic equipment came off, some of it was in the back of my shirt. Back of it was in the back, and my shirt came out a little bit. Although my clothes were entirely on, I leaned back and I tucked my shirt in. And at that point, they have this picture they take, which looks doctored. But any event, I'm tucking my shirt in. I assure you, that's all I was doing. That's awesome, dude. That's so fire.
Security officials, former national security officials, said it had all the hallmarks of a Russian operation was because of what they did. That is absolutely the most obvious typical Russian op is pure elimination rhetoric, accusing me of sex trafficking, of crimes against children.
Starting at the worst thing.
Starting at the worst thing. And then it's much easier to believe that because somebody that was part of a Ukrainian gas company sends an email saying, it was nice to meet your dad. Therefore, I was, taking bribes from a Ukrainian gas company and
this shit's
their
so
minds.
crazy.
But it's so much easier to make that gap if you just, even in the back of your mind, think that's the connection. So every time he says laptop, remember, now he says laptop and he says disgusting, dirty, like made in Hunter Biden's bathroom. You know what I mean? Not about corruption anymore to him. He's trying to tie it to that original thing that Giuliani, Carrick, Bannon, and Gao tried to tie it to.
Which is the new Red Scare, but instead of identifying communists, identifying pedos. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's straight out of Putin's book. I mean, literally straight out of Putin's book, which, by the way, is not even Putin's book. That was used by the elimination rhetoric actually came from there. And I'm sure something's been used time immemorial, but it was perfected by the and then reintroduced in the early 2000s, most prominently by Putin, and now used regularly by them.
One thing they're able to exploit, too, is a widespread belief that to become successful, you have to first do something horrible, and that there is a crest of society that you can only access by doing something so horrific, like, drinking the blood out of a baby, that it makes it so you are just now beholden to the will of the elites, because in order to become one, you have to do something so horrible that you can be blackmailed into compliance for the rest of your life. Now, I know personally that that's not true. You can become successful without eating a kid, but it's really easy to convince people who don't know anyone who's successful or wealthy that it's sad because you're preying on people with no class mobility and being like, you especially see it in the black community. Anytime a rapper gets a record deal, or there's sort of an assumption that like they did something gay, not necessarily, but just sort of gay. And so the Diddy thing was also kind of milked in that regard too.
Is that for real?
What?
What you just said about the rapper, is that a real thing? That's a real, I didn't know that.
Oh, like once you start getting that industry money, you got to go to those all-white Michael Rubin parties and you got to do sort of weird gay stuff.
Oh, that's what Cat Williams is
The
talking.
Michael Rubin parties do freak me out, dude. This is weird, is it not? It's just like, there's something about it. There's something about it that I don't like. I do not like, is that CJ Stroud? I do not like the white
Mystery
party.
money.
This is like, it's pretty, there's something
Michael.
off about it. There's something very strange about it. And God, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. This Is very weird to me. Like the white
Women
parties,
and you got to do sort of weird gay stuff.
Oh, that's what Cat Williams is talking about when he's talking about that.
It's all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. All lies will be exposed.
So it's across the board. Yeah. And I feel like this was in the MAGA movements. The whole Epstein is the center point of exploiting that belief. See, all those powerful people that you love, those actors who are on the silver screen who are untouchable, you know how they got there, right? Epstein Island. And you know who's never been to Epstein Island? Us. We're the grassroots. We're for the people. And so it's
and me. Just so you know, and me.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden. You've never been to Epstein Island. No, I know they don't say that, but yeah.
Well, unpopular opinion, if there was no underage kids at Epstein Island.
Nice place to go.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
At Epstein Island.
Or victims of human trafficking in any age range.
Nice place to go? Yeah. I can't believe you suckered me into saying that. Like, that's something that could definitely be taken out of context.
Right,
what the now I feel like I just got trapped. That's going to be the whole interview.
Well, no, I've always
Hunter
said
Biden says.
See, he's so cute and he's such a nice guy and he's just a chill dude. I want to be the president solely because Donald Trump becoming president proves that it doesn't fucking matter. Okay, I don't care if he's politically qualified or not. He's a very smart guy. I bet he is. I want him to be president just because I want him. You know how he's always owning the libs? We need to own the conservatards. That's what we need to do. We need to own the retards, the conservatards. It's our time. Okay, Trump came to own the libs. Hunter Biden comes in to own the conservatives. That's what we need.
Buddy, you've seen The Bear before, right? The show The Bear?
Yeah, of course.
So you know Matty Matheson, the kind of big guy who's the chef?
Oh, yeah.
His best friend was the private chef at Epstein Island.
No.
Yeah.
What does he say?
It's awesome. Aside from that. But he didn't know.
Yeah.
And so he's like,
but how did he not know?
Because he just was kept in, I'm sure Epstein would never do anything to let the chefs know. Like, that's the thing about the island from what I heard, is that like those activities, there was other extravagant things happening on the island.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I say, like, just because somebody went to the island doesn't necessarily mean that they were, like, doing anything. Like, it's possible that Epstein, like, because think about it, like, he has this island or whatever, and he probably has, like, I don't know, it's like this, like he probably has, like, a whole operation, right, where he's got, like, different areas that you can just not take people to, and I don't know if, like, there was always, like, girls there 24/7. Probably not. They would probably just, like, bring them. So there was times where there was just nothing really going on there, and they probably had friends that they knew weren't. And they're like, yeah, why don't you come and hang out for a weekend here or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, that's why it's tricky. That's why like the flight logs aren't like super definitive.
For example, they would fly out top chefs. They would fly out world-class entertainment.
Yeah.
They would create this elite entertainment experience for people that also included that thing.
So, by the way, and therefore that explains, for instance,
they had memberships here. Did they really? Is that an actual thing? Did they really? I didn't know that. Huh.
President Clinton,
they
the
had
Dalai Lama.
Some tiers into a membership. That's crazy.
You know, and a whole host of other people.
Yeah.
And by the way, which could also explain Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
To be fair, it could explain that. I want to believe, and I think I know some of the you know, I not know personally, but like admirers of certain people, and I think that he pulled so many people into his orbit through his just an enormous amount of wealth that he threw around. Like I was watching that documentary, and you realize, like, knowing of some of these billionaires, like his display of wealth, like he had the most expensive apartment in Manhattan.
Yeah.
This $75 million at that time. It's $75 million in the 90s, I think. You know what I mean? Like he had like an entire island. He didn't just have a like, you know, a Gulf Stream.
Crazy. An island is like owning an entire island. I'm sure like whenever he bought it, it was exponentially cheaper, but even then, like it said it was 125 million, like 125 million for like an island. If you bought it in like maybe the 90s or something, like that's crazy, dude.
He had a 727 and a Gulfstream and a place in New Mexico and a place and so like he wooed and created like this salon in New York where people would come over, and whether it was, you know, XYZ actor and, you know, one of the Kennedys and former president and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you can see how it would be completely unfair to, like, you know, say everyone that was associated with him. However, on the island, the one guy on that documentary that didn't seem to have anything to gain from it was the guy that did his the work on all the telecom. Have you watched that documentary?
Yeah, on
Netflix? So remember the guy that is the he did all of the tech work on the island. And he said that the pool guy said to him, why do you do this? And he said, I do it for the money. And the guy said, do you have daughters? And he said, yeah, I do. And he said, would you allow your daughter to come to this island? And so he saw it, and he said he quit that day.
Well, the pool guy could have just been like a devout Muslim or something.
Yeah. Well, the tech guy thought about it, and he said, like, you know, he's the one that claims that he saw Prince Andrew in the pool naked with the girl, Virginia Joffrey or whatever.
Yeah,
saw them
the
together.
one that was the primary source.
And who was underage at that time. So I don't know how much people's recollection of like getting paid to go to the island to be a chef.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
like,
kind
I
of
just
the
didn't
point
see
I'm
that.
trying to make is that I feel like when people have this Epstein conversation, they're forgetting the fact that this guy was putting millions and millions of dollars into world-class entertainment and making sure that people had it, you know.
I totally agree. And by the way, like that's another thing, is the fine line between, like, look, like all of these people, you know, here in New York, you know, and you've met these people, you know, like you have an opening for your, you know, your album. There are people that you go out there and you hire models.
Yeah.
All right, guys, as Hunter knows, addiction can take you to some dark places, but it's not always drugs or alcohol that people get addicted to. In fact, millions of Americans are addicted to gambling, and with every roll of the dice, they find themselves deeper and deeper into debt, which is why today's video is sponsored by PDS Debt. But let's be clear, gambling is far from the only cause of debt. Mortgage loans are actually the leading cause of debt in America, followed closely by student loans and auto loans. Debt can feel like an insurmountable weight on your shoulders, and no one, I mean no one, should bear that weight by themselves. So if you're looking for help, the first step is to contact PDS Debt. They're not just crunching numbers, they're actually listening. They look at your whole situation, not
Oh, is it a joke with the membership thing? I got propaganda. Yeah, true. I got owned. I assumed you wouldn't lie to me about something like that. I mean, it's not too much of a stretch of the imagination.
your credit score and build a plan that's made for you. Are you drowning in credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills? PDS Debt doesn't just slap a generic plan on it. They build something custom for you. For example, when I went into debt to get my education, I remember wishing I had a friend who could help me figure everything out. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have any friends in college and didn't know about the good people over at PDS Debt. But thankfully now I have friends and I know about PDS Debt. And I think that if you're in my situation, this could be massively helpful. PDS Debt also has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star Google reviews, and 5-star reviews on Trustpilot too. Why? Because they've helped hundreds of thousands of people crawl out of debt hell and get their lives back on track. Guys, there's no minimum credit score and no judgment, because PDS Debt is just about helping you save more, crush your debt faster, and put money back where it belongs, in your goddamn pocket. So what are you waiting for? You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. So get your free debt assessment and find the best option for you.
I'm not gonna skip ads when it's a decent person making a decent video. It's just bad.
Right now at pdsdebt.com/channel5. pdsdebt.com/channel5. It couldn't be easier to get your free debt analysis. Simply click my link, click on the option that best describes your unsecured debt amount, and fill out your personal information. Make this the year that you take control of your debt. As I mentioned, you're less than 30 seconds away from being debt-free. So get your free debt assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/channel5. pdsdebt.com/channel5. All right, back to Hunter Biden.
You know,
sellout. I'm not a sellout. I don't get any money showing the ad. I want to show the ad only because, like, if I'm reacting to the content, then I don't want to like, you know, scam them. Like, it's their ad. They should be allowed to, like, if I'm gonna react to their video, I may as well just play the ad. So
only Melissa just come up with a little chicken matzo ball soup from, like, out of nowhere.
That's amazing.
Like, where did that come from? She's like, here's some chicken matzo ball soup. Just whipped it up from
he's so
the
cute.
soda
I love
cans
him,
in the fridge. Okay, how cool would it be if you had all the money to buy this whole, like, these views are so incredible. Is that a bat? Look at the teeth on that, though. That's not a bat.
What the?
No, that's a,
You may have just discovered a new animal.
No, that was a, I think that was a cat.
Jesus. Wow, that's a cat who passed away? Rest in peace. Oh, it looks like a dog.
Yeah, it does look like a dog.
That's a dog who was burnt to a crisp during the wildfires.
It's so sad, actually.
Life is sad.
It's very profound.
Yeah.
I see why you've made it in TV or online.
Oh, dude, is this your hot tub?
No, it's not my hot tub. This house is.
Wow.
Okay, so this guy, I think he was happy.
Did his house burn down?
Yeah. Almost all of the houses on the water are gone. Not all of them, but like the vast majority of them.
Imagine watching your house burn down next to the ocean. Sort of like a really cruel, cruel, sort of laughing in your face type of deal. How much does a house go for around here?
I don't know.
10 million or something?
Add a PNG of a Funko. I don't know how that's gonna help with dopamine, but I can consider it. I need my own Funko Pop I'm gonna go to Grok and I'm gonna Grok a Funko Pop of myself, and put that on the screen.
No.
I wonder if now's kind of a good time to buy.
Yeah, we have to start asking questions about that burnt dog. Actually, that's a good point. We do need to start asking questions. You know, was the Mossad involved? You know, did he know Epstein? Maybe he got some favors. You know, maybe he has some ties directly to Elon Musk or the CEO of PayPal or something like Peter Schiff or whatever. Yeah, who knows?
Actually, the prices are still like kind of like crazy inflated. I mean, I rent.
Peter Thiel, right? Is that his name?
But that's what I was thinking, the same thing. But you know.
Wait, Peter Schiff works too.
There?
Wait, Peter, dude, wait, that was actually a pretty rare poll. Peter Schiff, he's probably pretty rich, right? Now Peter Thiel is the PayPal guy. Yeah. Okay. Wow, I'm a genius, dude.
Where you can see that roof.
Yeah.
No, so see the solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next house roof that you can see, that's Luke Skywalker.
What do you mean?
It's
boys with Luke Skywalker lives there?
True, it's actually Luke Skywalker. He's a real person. What are you talking about?
I don't know, man. I'm a journalist. I'm supposed to ask follow-up questions.
Yeah, follow-up
and if you're in some kind of psychosis, I didn't want to make you feel out of place.
No. Yeah, the actual Luke Skywalker.
Yo, you ever thought about parasailing off of here?
No, I have not thought about parasailing off here.
That's what I would do.
You know, I didn't know that it was this deep until this is the first time ever because there's a house in front of us.
You think I would survive just like running down the hill?
No, I don't.
I would die.
You know, what's that thing in Scotland? Is it in Scotland or is it in Ireland that they do with the run down that hill chasing the ball of cheese or the wheel of cheese?
No.
You ever seen that?
No.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good
They
video
roll
concept.
like a wheel of cheese and they all line up at the top of the hill and they chase it down and these guys just hurtle it down it. It looks really stupid.
That sounds
dangerous.
amazing.
I love Ireland. I would live in Ireland. Have you been?
No, but that's our ancestral indigenous homeland.
Yeah, that's right. Both of us.
Yeah.
We're brotherhood that way.
Isn't it crazy that we're native Irishmen?
Yeah, if we're native Irishmen.
Well, I mean, technically.
Yeah, technically. If you go anywhere, one of the places you have to go is Newgrange. It's so amazing. You know, there's those mounds, you know, that are ancient, like monolithic, you know, mounds. It's older by like 1,000 years than even Stonehenge. And it's a tomb, and it's on the River Boyne, and it has a passageway in it. And on the winter solstice, it's lined up so that it completely illuminates the center of the tomb. And they just figured out, like I think 5 years ago, that there were 5 people buried at the center of it. And they did DNA testing, and the DNA testing traces them all the way back to the same genetics as the pharaohs of Egypt that came from this one part of Turkey. And they went that way, and they went that way. And then they got driven out by the Ice Age, and then driven back down. Isn't that amazing?
That is really amazing. I know that there was like 2 or 3 centuries of Irish history that's just unknown that followed the invention of whiskey. You know about that?
No.
After whiskey was invented, you know, we talked about consumption deaths last interview. Like there's just 100 years plus of Irish history where like no one knows what the hell even happened.
Oh, because they were all drunk.
Or just like it was just such chaos and they couldn't even keep records.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Are you being serious?
I swear to God. I'm gonna send you a link when I get home.
That was, you know what that is? That's a myth started by the British.
Yeah.
The Irish are so stupid. They invented whiskey and then they were drunk for 200 years.
Have you heard the term shamrock washing?
No.
It's supposedly like a British deep state conspiracy to like wash Irish history and like a lot of aesthetic stuff, like shamrocks and leprechauns, and at the end of the rainbow, it's kind of erase the legacy of the famine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the truth.
Like Panda Express or like an In-N-Out. I'm only naming fast food spots.
Well, In-N-Out is fine. You don't tip at an In-N-Out.
I do.
What, you tip at an In-N-Out?
Yeah, they have to wear those hats. You know what that feels like?
Did you, serious conversation? I met somebody that is in the, owns fast food franchises. His McDonald's employs 55 people, okay? He went all AI, okay?
Man.
It's about a $2 million investment per McDonald's, okay? He only employs 5 people now.
Yeah.
So his margins go up by like 27%. It'll make back the $2 million investment in under like 18 months. Think about this. There's about like 13,500 McDonald's in the United States of America. I did the math.
Scary,
if
dude.
every one of them went down to 5 from 55, lost 50.
I wonder what the implications of like low skill work just being completely absorbed by AI. Like that's like genuinely that's horrifying. Like people are worried about like, oh, like artists are gonna be like, no one's gonna commission artists anymore because they're going on Grok and they're AI generating art. like, dude, like there's always gonna be a market for real, genuine artists. Always. That will never go away. Music. Oh, like it's only a danger to you if you are dog or you're just like you just do like stuff that's like not really profound, right? But then you think about like who is actually getting affected. We're talking about like low skill people, like people who work at McDonald's. Like can you imagine if just no one's able to get a minimum wage job anymore? Like what the I can't even imagine what would
50
happen.
jobs. It's 670,000 jobs in America. And that's like, it's a certainty. And that's just McDonald's. You think that Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, I mean, across the board, you're talking, what, like probably 3.5 million jobs in the fast food industry alone that will AI with easily within the next 5 years, if not 3 years. So I've flipped my thinking about this whole AI thing. You're either going to have a mass extinction event, or it's going to be really good with a rough patch in the middle. Because if between supercomputing power, which we're there already, okay, like quantum computer, and deploying AI, is like, how is it that we don't figure out the commercialization of nuclear fusion within the next like 5 years? And if we do that, a limitless source of power without any carbon emission or waste at all, like that could solve like, I mean, like, you know, we just saved the earth basically.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine. Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News. Channel 55. We don't with custers. And 5 is the best number.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, man, thanks for that web link. It's really working. I don't know if you guys missed the memo, but we just dropped an entire feature film. That's right, a full-blown movie at www.dearkellyfilm.com.
DearKellyFilm.com. Wow. This is a nice video. I like this. I like Hunter Biden. I genuinely do. I'm only half memeing when I say that we should make him president, but if he ran, I would be all on board, dude. I'd be all on board. Because here's my thing. I think from a pragmatic perspective, I would like Tim Walz to run for president because I feel like he's been an effective leader as governor of Minnesota. I really get behind. I can get behind him as a person. Like, you know, he was like the teacher and he like volunteered to be like the coach of the football team and he volunteered for some other thing too, like to like he didn't want like a certain after school program to go away, so he volunteered to run it. Like he's just like a genuinely good dude that like cares about like his students and cares about kids and cares about people and like oh my god, the messaging here's people always say like, oh, the messaging for Kamala Walsh or Harris Walsh was like bad. I don't think it was bad, dude. I feel like the messaging was really good. Like we were calling like Tim Walz, we were calling him Coach, and then we were calling JD Vance JV Vance. Like I felt, dude, we have something there with Tim Walz. But the problem is that I the only concern I have is you know, if he runs, I'm worried that he won't fare well on the debate stage because he didn't do it unless he gets like trained super hard. And so that's why I say, what about Hunter Biden? You know, maybe we could get Hunter Biden in there, and Hunter Biden would just be like, "F you, JD, F you're a piece of shit, you're un-American fuck, you're a piece of shit." Like that. That's what we need. We need a little bit more belligerency. We need to stop being polite. We just need to be. You know, we just need to be. We need to be. They are 100% evil. We need to be like 5% evil. You know what I mean? We need to be a little. We need to get dirty. You know, we no more. They go low, we go high. That dude. Let's tackle them to the ground. Shove their face in horse shit, dude. Let's absolutely destroy. You know, like let's treat these subhuman like the subhuman they are. That's what I say. That's what I believe. That's what I support. Okay.